after he was
Your dad.
my dad, William Nelson, went through all this.
Willard. Willard.
What did I say?
William.
Whoever he was.
Your father.
Anyway, he had some, men friends there in West Point that belonged to the Masonic Lodge in Orange City, and they'd go down there and meet. And those guys kind of took him under their wing and tried to help him get employed. And one or two of them took him down to they was going down to Huntsville to apply for a job and took Daddy with him. Anyway, they went to Brown Engineering. I don't know where else they went, but he,
What city?
Huntsville.
Alabama.
That might be where you was born.
It is.
It's where my son was born. Anyway, he applied for and got a job as a bookkeeper at Brown Engineering and worked there until he died. He was working there when he died. And
This was during the Cold War.
yeah, he was involved in a lot of stuff he couldn't talk about. But oddly enough, that was in 1950 to 56 or somewhere in there. Let's see, no,
He died in 60.
60, probably 55 to 60, I don't remember. But I got a degree in mechanical engineering in 1967 and went to work for Brown Engineering in Huntsville. And they was working on NASA space project,
Saturn.
Saturn V. And I was working on stuff I said I couldn't talk about. Draftsman. And we were sitting in a doctor's office and opened this magazine up. I says, well, I can't talk to you about what I'm doing, but look at this. It looked like what I was working on my drafting board, just out there in the magazine. So I says, I can't tell you about it, but there it is.
So much for security.
Well, it was just structure on the spaceship. I mean, it wasn't like it was anything. But they gave me the skin of the spacecraft that was going to, put on the body, and had air conditioning lines in there, and the way they had Grumman and somebody else designing and building them, and I was drawing them together, and they didn't fit. So they got all excited about that, but they found it before they got it down there to build it. But anyway, I worked there 11 months. And then the guy I graduated from Tech with and went to work for TVA at Browns Ferry. And he brought his boss over there to my apartment, Joe Wilkins. And
What year?
1968. But Steve Stagnolia is the one that brought him over there. We graduated from Tech together. And anyway, they wound up hiring me at Browns Ferry.
Nuclear plant.
TVA.
Nuclear plant, yeah. But Steve Stagnolia turned all-terrain vehicle over on himself about a year ago and killed himself. Had an accident and died. And Joe Wilkins, I wound up building cars and tractors, and you'd go over and ask him what he was doing. He said, chasing rabbits.
He was your next door neighbor
Yeah,
Yeah.
and your boss.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It was an unusual relationship.
It was, but they got along well because Dad's easy to get along with.
But anyway,
You started working at Brown's Ferry in 1968.
I worked there for 1968, worked there for 8 years. And I got,
Until 76.
yeah, and I got
Fine.
charged with being in charge of setting the reactor, 750 tons. And it had a sole plates that put out and then put a ring girder on that. And them sole plates had to be within 3/1000ths of an inch, and it's like 20 feet around. So they bought an optical level that I learned to use. And then set the ring girder, and then we got shots on the ring girder and shots on the vessel bottom flange, and then I had to calculate shims to put under it so the vessel was sitting level, because the flange on the vessel and the ring girder, wasn't quite level. But we went through all that, setting it, and had shims just nearly all the way around it. And the crane operator says it's down. Went around there, and nearly every one of them shims was loose. And I says, well, put some slack in that cable. When it did, while the millwrights had their feeler gauges in there checking gaps. And when it come down, you could hear it just, he wasn't down. Trapped their feeler gauges and all, had to get him to pick it back up, take it out, but it was plumb and all the shims was tight. But then the head weighed 56 tons. We built out the internals, the jet pumps, and all the stuff that goes in the reactor, and then the plant was doing something, and they back pressured the steam lines, and we had plugs in there so we could fill the reactor vessel with water. And they blew one of them plugs out, and it went across the vessel and broke all the stuff off of it. Anyway, they called me, and I come in looking for it, looked for it for 2 days. Nuts and bolts and wires. Found everything but 1/4 inch bolt and a washer. And they sent me to Washington, D.C. to talk to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. And me and the assistant plant manager went. And bottom line, they set us in 2 chairs, and they had a semicircle of about 10 or 12 chairs. Sit there and grilled us for about 3 hours.
What year was this?
19.
70.
Early 70s.
It's probably 73. But anyway, they told us to go eat and come back. So when we came back, they said, you'll have to tail the cord out and see if you can find them. So we had to take everything back out. And we found, I think, the nut or the washer one. I didn't find them both. But we found some pieces up on the refueling floor later. I got to looking up there. It hit so hard it threw stuff clearing out of the vessel. 20 feet up on the refueling floor. But anyway, we get through all that and build it and test it and load fuel in it. It's the first reactor of its kind, General Electric, 1100 megawatts. And so GE had some instrumentation they had to put on the jet pumps and all to be sure it was operating right. They ran that instrumentation up, and they had a flange on this one nozzle on the head they had to run these things through. Well, somehow that flange wound up missing, and so we had to get them to fly one in. They bought it a seat on the plane and flew it in from San Jose. But we get all that there, and this GE guy and me is inside the vessel with a fuel load of fuel, feeding these instrument lines up through that flange. He's up on about a 16-foot ladder. I'm down there trying to keep everybody from falling. But, with full load of fuel, 56-ton head coming down. Left out 3 studs so we could get out. Studs stick up out of the thing. So it got down to where it was just barely enough room to get that ladder out. Stopped it, took the ladder down, slid it out, slid us out, put the head on down, put those studs in there and bolted it up, cranked it up, so it worked. But I was, I guess, up close and personal. But
That was the first time the reactor had ever fired up
yeah,
in 1973. Was that the first unit?
yeah. First unit, I think, was in 72, second unit was in 73, and then third unit was in, well, we had a fire at Browns Ferry that took both units offline, and we had to recover from that, and then the third unit came on in 75. Then they sent me to Bellefonte. And I was there for
In Scottsboro.
Less than 2 years.
What year?
76. And I was only there a year, and your mother was there 2 years. But anyway, they got in trouble at Sequoia. They was trying to start it up. And said, well, who's been through this? Get Olson up there, he been through it. So sent me to Sequoia. I was there for 3 years, and we put those 2 units online in 79 and 80, I think. But anyway, then to Watts Bar, and then back to Browns Ferry, and then back to school. That's the end of my story on that.